You are now listening to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. Please begin to take that good deep breath as we begin to refresh, recharge, and reset. Let's go.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Faith vs. Fear, Breaking Family Ties, now available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. You are now listening to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall.
Welcome to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. Listen. It is now officially the year 2022. Now, I will not go on ranting about how weird that sounds to me. The older I get, these years just sound so bizarre because back in the day, I've explained this before, we would speak about these times, but just blew our minds that we would actually be living in these times. So I will not make you suffer through my spiel as we start a new year. But let me just say, it is definitely special times that we are living in. But I am so happy, so excited to be able to bring in, I'm going to take my time, you guys, bring in a new year with my podcast family. You guys have no idea how much I look forward to connecting with you, to sharing with you, to getting this opportunity to empower you, to encourage you, to uplift you, hopefully. That is my goal. I mean, what an opportunity. What an opportunity. And to be able to do this now another year, we have actually brought in, at least 2 years together consistently. And it has been outstanding. And so let me just first say that I pray that you guys have had a good holiday season, a positive bringing in of the new year. We all have challenges that come that are unexpected. I too have had some unexpected challenges as I brought in the new year. But I am here. You are here. We are here together. And so we're going to give ourselves a high five and words of encouragement and say, listen, it might have been hard to get here, but we are here. We're going to encourage ourselves and remind ourselves, yes, we might have had some tough times, some challenging times, some challenging moments, some moments where we thought we couldn't or wouldn't make it. But guess what? We are here. So we have beat the odds and we have made it. And we are definitely looking over, the last couple of years that we have had as a community. And just to be able to be here in the year 2022 is a miracle in itself. And so we're not going to just fly past that. We're just not going to not acknowledge that. We're going to be grateful that we have another opportunity, another chance to get things together and get it right. There are so many people who we are losing on this side of glory. There are so many people that we're losing that are, leaving here. They are leaving here. And so, it makes you, once again, look at life from a different angle and a better perspective of understanding that all of our time here is limited. So the time that we are here, we are to make the most of it. It's not a grim way of looking at life. It's just reality. But the reality should push us to do better. The reality should push us to make smarter moves, to be more strategic in our moves. We are all aware that life's moments can get you caught up and you can forget how limited your time is here. And so instead of you focusing on your goals and focusing on your agendas and your purpose and getting things done, you might spend some time arguing for no reason, getting angry for no reason, just deciding to check out and not participate in life for whatever reason, but it just takes away time. It just slowly chips away. And so at this age that I am at and the experience that I've had in life so far, I really do pick and choose my battles. I really do try to look at things in the way that I teach you all, look at things from different perspectives and not allow myself to just get pulled into things that I don't need to be pulled into. Some things do catch you off guard. And, my first my first initial reaction sometimes is not the best, but I am learning and putting into practice to pause and respond in a way that is healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally for myself. And that is something that I'm definitely put into place for 2022. And I hope that you're doing the same. Is that when we are bombarded with life's moments, which, like I stated, it can be just out of the blue, to pause. Take a pause before you respond, before you type that response back, before you make that phone call to, make a response back, before you get upset, get afraid, get nervous, get excited, whatever it is, take a pause. Take a pause for 2022. Let's do that. Take pause and then review and think before we respond. And, I think that's a very positive way to begin our 2022. And another thing for 2022, I believe that we should really stop comparing. I've said this so many times because I think so many of us fall into this trap of comparing our lives to other people's lives. And we rate our lives based upon what someone else is doing. It is foolish to do that in so many ways. And it puts you in a bad mind space. And so you don't want to do that. Let's focus on where we are. Let's focus on our own journey. Let's focus on our own purpose for the year 2022 so that we can actually get some things done. I'm excited to listen and hear some testimonies this year. I want people to start, emailing me and posting their testimonies on these platforms to let me know that you have put to practice these teachings, these conversations that we're having and the outcome of it. I want you to, literally, pick yourself up, come out from out that place that you've been hiding in, come on out of that basement, that, and I don't mean a physical basement, but that lower area that you just been hiding and hibernating in, and come on out and let's face the world together and get some things done. So I can hear your testimonies. I can hear that, hey, this was hard. This was a challenge, but I did it. And that's what I want to hear, that, yes, I did it. And let's hear that. Let's hear that for 2022. Before we get on with our topic today, I just want to thank you guys once again for rocking and rolling with me for last year. We dealt with a lot as a community, but we accomplished it. We did it. And we will continue to do it. There are so much more obstacles that as a community we find ourselves facing. The pandemic has not gone anywhere. It just kind of like reinvented itself into, different forms, right? And so we're still dealing with that. We talked about that a little bit on our last podcast of the year. So if you didn't hear the recap of 2021, please go back and listen to that because we hit a lot of good stuff, So, we are still having to readjust. We are still learning to conform to this new, right? And we know that it's challenging for ourselves, it's challenging for the family as a whole, our children especially are kind of being pulled in different directions, and it's just a lot that we're dealing with, but we are going to handle it. And so because I knew that, because I thought about that, right, I said, what can we talk about the first of the year that will help to get us started for 2022? And so I came across this article from Healthline, and I wanted to talk about grounding techniques. For those who don't know what grounding techniques are, grounding is a practice that help you and I pull away from flashbacks, unwanted memories, and negative or challenging emotions. So it's just a technique, which is something that I learned over the years to understand and appreciate. To understand and appreciate. But I think that in order for it to be effective, it has to be something that you do before on a regular basis, before you find yourself in a chaotic moment. So, in other words, I think that these grounding techniques I will share some of them with you, but I believe from experience that these grounding techniques and the article that I read agreed that these grounding techniques is more effective for you and I and for anybody who finds themselves in a very uncomfortable environment. It's more effective when you practice it before you get in a distressful or stressful moment. So you can't just wait till you get to this moment and then put it to practice. It's something that you should practice beforehand so that it's an easier transition, an easier shift for you, and you feel a little bit more in control. It's definitely the truth that you will feel more in control when you have already put these techniques into practice. Because if you don't, and you try to do it the last minute, you kind of still feel as if you are struggling and tugging and all that. And so we don't want to feel like that. We want to feel like we are, able to handle the environment that we're in. So once again, we're going to talk about grounding, and you can use grounding for different issues such as anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, dissociation, self-harm urges, traumatic memories, substance use disorder, or just anybody who, for a moment, you find yourself just overwhelmed with emotions or overwhelmed with negative thinking. And I think that if you can't find yourself in any of the categories that I just mentioned, you definitely can find yourself in the overwhelming negative thinking, because that can happen to each and every one of us, whether you have been medically diagnosed with a mental health disorder or not, or experience a mental health disorder. You have definitely found yourself in a place where, just negative thinking has bombarded your life for a moment, if not, for more than one moment, but definitely for a moment. And so you might need to find yourself a place where you take control of that and ground yourself. Say, hey, kind of bring yourself back to the reality of where you are, because a lot of times these ground techniques are necessary because there's a disassociation. So it's like a checkout. So you need something to bring you back to where you are, to remind you that you're okay and that you are, where you are is really where you are. Like, bring your focus, your clarity, everything back. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I feel like it is a great topic to start off for the new year, as we deal with another version of coronavirus, as we see our cities and states and governments kind of go back and forth arguing regarding shutdown, how to deal with the pandemic, and to see our communities divided with vaccination, not being vaccinated, feeling as if the rights is being infringed. I mean, it's just a lot going on. So this brings so much trauma. It's so traumatic to see so much crimes, carjackings, smash and grabs, all these we talked about in our last podcast, robberies, murder. I mean, it's just injustice. So much going on, right? So we put it all in this ball, and it becomes like this big snowball effect of trauma. And so because of that, anybody can experience moments of anxiety, moments of depression, moments of those bombarded negative thoughts during this type of environment. This environment that we're living in, no matter how strong you are, how deep you are, how whatever you are, this is the perfect breeding ground for anxiety, perfect breeding ground for depression, perfect breeding ground for a bombardment of negative thoughts, negative thinkings. So because of that, we're going to talk about how to get grounded. And so when we get grounded, we are able to have a little bit more control. Okay, so we're going to talk about some physical techniques, some mental techniques. We're going to talk about these techniques that, even soothing techniques. And we're just going to mention a couple of these just so that you can have some in mind. Remember, you can always go back and listen to this podcast and write them down if I go too fast, because you guys know once I start talking, that's the end of that. But before I go through the list of some of these, just understand that all of these will not fit you. Once again, all of these will not fit you. You must find out what works for you. Let me emphasize that. You have to find out what works for you. Okay, because to be honest, some techniques that are actually pushed, by physicians, therapists or whatever, can bring more anxiety to an individual, and then another individual might find those techniques to be very beneficial for them and actually subside their anxiety or their feeling of being overwhelmed. So it just depends on you as the individual. So you have to find out what works for you. Okay, so one of the first physical techniques is to put your hands in water. Focus on the water's temperature and how it feels on your fingertips, palms, the back of your hands. Does it feel the same in each part of your hand? First use warm water and then move on to cold water. This is a very practical and simple grounding technique, and I can definitely see how that can be helpful. Another technique, this we're talking about the physical techniques for grounding, is to pick up or touch items near you. Some people, because of them feeling like they're going to fall, they begin to grab at anything that's close to them, trying to brace themselves or touch things. So pick up or touch items near you, because this is going to bring you back to the reality. This is going to bring you into the present moment. Okay, so our things that you touch, are they soft? So you're not focusing on the nervous feeling, the excitement, the fear, any of these things. You're not focusing on that anymore. Now you're focusing on the feel of the item. Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it heavy? Is it light? Is it warm? Is it cool? You're going to begin to focus on the texture of it. Okay, and it's not like you're going through a process of that, like bit by bit by bit by bit, but this is going to be a natural reaction. So you guys don't see me, but I'm just putting to practice what I'm saying. So like I'm picking up my phone, and then so I'm going through and I'm touching my phone, and then so initially when I pick up my phone, the first thing I do notice that my phone is kind of heavy. It's kind of heavy for my wrist, right? So that's a natural thing that we do. And then you begin to notice that it's solid and it's thick or it's thin, or these are the things that we're going to notice. Just but some things you're going to purposely focus on. You're going to purposely focus on, like, is it soft? Is it warm? Is it cool? And then you can even start looking at it and looking at the colors. You're going to start saying, if it's a multicolor, how many colors are in this object? How many colors are in this? And you're doing this on purpose. It's grounding you. It's bringing you to the present. It's bringing you to the moment. Now, one that is taught so often is breathing deeply, slowly inhale, then exhale. I was taught before that you push out, blow out way more than you take in. Now, this is just my opinion, okay? This is my opinion. That technique is very difficult to do if you're in public, because what that does is draw attention to yourself. And anybody who's suffering from panic or anxiety specifically, well, the last thing you want to do is draw attention to yourself. You don't want people looking at you. That's the problem in the first place. You don't want them looking at you, staring at you, or anything. So taking these long, deep breaths in and out, and blowing is definitely way more effort and way more obvious, in a public situation. If you're by yourself, or around family or something like that, then definitely that's something that you can do. I suggest that you do this just for de-stressing, period, not necessarily having to wait to be in a hostile or overwhelming environment, but practice breathing, taking deep, slow breaths and just kind of relaxing your body. It's a good practice anyway. That is something, to be honest, over I think maybe last 2 years or so or more, I have actually done. I have actually practiced taking in deep, healthy breaths and blowing them out to just de-stress myself. Whether I'm in a hostile environment or not, it's just something that I put to practice just to learn to just, let things go. I shrug my shoulders and let things go and take in deep breaths and blow them out and just, stretch. It's a good thing to do even if you're not in a hostile environment. Another physical thing is a physical de-stressor and grounding technique is to take a short walk. I've been told this before from different medical professionals who have actually said for physical purposes and for mental health purposes, taking a walk helps. You can concentrate on your steps, notice the rhythm of your footsteps, how it feels, put your foot on the ground, and then lift again. So let me say this about that too. Depending on what your issues are, depending on what is your triggers, that may or may not work for you. So if going out and walking around is stressful, if that causes stress for you, if that's a trigger for you, then you can find more healthier ways that's less triggering for you, that will still cause you to do some form of exercise. Okay, so even if it's walking up and down your stairs, how about that? Taking those steps, concentrating on that, up and down, up and down, up and down. So just, it's about you concentrating on some steps, okay? But outside is considered beneficial because of the fresh air that is needed. We all need fresh air and that vitamin D. So that's why that is emphasized. Okay, it's because you need that. You need that. Okay, so here we go. Another one is, which I have never heard of this one before, but this article says it, is to hold a piece of ice. Okay, it's to hold a piece of ice. Now I know people like to eat ice, bite ice, but they actually suggest that you can hold a piece of ice and see how it feels, and how long does it take to start melting. This is something that you can concentrate on to help get you grounded. Scents, savor a scent. Now I know for me, and I know it's often said, is lavender. I know some people are not fans of lavender, but lavender is very calming. So I know that you can find, and I did see this a good while ago. There is scents that you can purchase that not only can you put in your house, but there is a scent for lavender that you can roll on your arm, roll on your hand, and you can keep that scent on you and around you. So it says, the article says, savor scent. What fragrance appeals to you is the fragrance that you want to use. It might even be a cup of tea. herbs, spices, even favorite soaps. Oh, that is so true. Um, Scented candles, which is something that I like a lot. But what you want to do is inhale this fragrance slowly and deeply, and try to note its qualities. Is it sweet, spicy, sharp, citrusy? You just want to kind of distinguish the smells that are in that scent. So once again, it's about you focusing on something else so that you can get into the present. Move your body. We talk about stretching. That's what I do. Stretch. You can do jumping jacks. You can jump rope. You can jog in place. Stretch different muscle groups one by one. Then you want to pay attention to how your body feels with each movement. And when your hands or feet touch the floor or move through the air, how does that feel? How does the floor feel against your feet, and your hands? So just stretching and moving, and it does something when you begin to move that body. It not only does it get the blood flowing, which is a great thing, but it kind of shifts. It kind of shifts that the mindset, from a place of being distant to once again being present. Listening to your surroundings. A lot of times we kind of shut everything off when we feel this way. But to be intentional about listening, do you hear birds? Do you hear dogs barking? Are you listening and hearing traffic? So it's just about becoming one with your environment, listening and paying attention to that versus all of the crazy symptoms that your body will try to show you or tell you as you are dealing with anxiety or a panic attack or overwhelming um, negative thinking, or any of these things, traumatic experiences that we have discussed earlier. Also, you want to try, according to this article, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a technique in which you work backwards from 5. Use your senses to list things you notice around you. For example, you may start by listing 5 things you hear, then 4 things you see, then 3 things you can touch from where you're sitting, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Now, this sounds quite extensive, right, to do that, but it's all about you getting centered and you grounding yourself. So take that effort to pay attention to these things so that you won't have to allow or give room for the overwhelming negative thoughts that's attempting. So think about that. You're sit there and concentrate on the what ifs and the negative. We could put forth effort into that. That's spins us out of place and make our environment chaotic. Let's use that type of energy to maybe try this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. So that, once again, it may or may not work for you. I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, that sounds quite extensive, but if it is a environment for you where you are really struggling to get your focus and get grounded, it takes effort to do this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that might be just what you need to get you back grounded to where you need to be. Now, a mental technique. We're going to talk about some mental techniques. I hope you guys are learning something on today. I'm trying to inspire, encourage, and educate on today as we start this 2021 year. So we've already discussed some physical techniques. I've given my opinions and perspectives on some of those. Now we're going to talk about some mental techniques. I won't do a whole lot of those, but we're just going to share a couple of these just to see if they might work for you. If they do, awesome, great. Use them. Go back, listen to this again, write them down. Do whatever you need to do so that you can remember. These mental techniques are used as mental distractions to help redirect your thoughts away from distressing feelings and back to the present. So that's what this is all about. We're trying to make sure that as we're living in this very hostile environment, you and I are equipped to handle these situations that come about that can truly cause trauma. for anybody, right? For anybody. Okay, so the first one is play a game, play a memory game. And how you do that is you look at detailed photograph, a picture for 5 to 10 seconds, then turn the photograph down, face down, recreate that photograph in your mind in as much detail or as possible. You can also mentally list the things that you remember about that picture. It's kind of like the game when you was a kid, when you have all the cards down, face down. You pick up one card, then you put that card down. You go through the whole list of trying to find that match for that card. It's kind of like that, right? It's about us using our mind and to create a memory, to kind of block out the other negative thoughts, right? Just block it out. So that's what we're doing with that. Also, another mental technique for grounding was think in categories. This is interesting. Choose one or two broad categories such as musical instruments, ice cream flavors, baseball teams, etc. Basketball teams, let me throw that in there. Take a minute or two to mentally list as many things from each category as you can. Okay, so just gonna go through this for yourself. This is pretty cool to do. Just take these 2, 3, 4 categories, whichever works for you. You're gonna take these categories and you're gonna think, what can I use to help me to get grounded. Another mental technique that will help you get grounded will be to recite something. Think of a poem, a book, or song, or anything. Recite it quietly to yourself or in your head. If you say the words aloud, focus on the shape of each word on your lips. Once again, it's about shifting your focus. I did a whole podcast on that, you guys. Shifting your focus on away from the overwhelming negative thoughts or the symptoms of your anxiety or panic attack, and now you're focusing on your lips, your words, your mouth. So it's about shifting your focus. Another way to get grounded mentally would be to make yourself laugh. You can make up a joke, share a joke, think up a joke. Something that is right in our hands all the time is our phones. And in our phones, we have so many different apps. And they're full of content that can be straight comedy. And so I know for me personally, I do that quite often. Is go to some content that I know is funny, look at it, and just will be sitting there alone laughing hard. Okay, I have learned to appreciate my space, appreciate my time alone, and me being able to have fun with me by myself. And so I rather enjoy my company. I think that comes with age, but to be honest, I've always been like that. But I would listen to some comedians. I would turn on a comedian in a heartbeat and laugh and just enjoy it by myself. So whatever works for you. If that works for you, then do that. Okay. Another one they said is imagine yourself leaving the painful feelings behind. Okay. And this is creative. This is creative. Picture yourself gathering the emotions, balling them up, putting them into a box, walking, swimming, biking, jogging away from your painful feelings. Imagine your thoughts as a song or TV show you dislike, changing the channel. This is going to turn it off or turn the volume down. This is really unique and a very creative way to handle grounding yourself. Okay, so the last that we're going to talk about is some soothing techniques. Once again, I have been talking about different grounding techniques that we will and can use for 2022, to help us to make sure that we're not allowing the news, the CDC, the World Health Organization, the crime rate, or anything to stress us, to overwhelm us. it's bad enough that, you are dealing with your everyday life moments. Now you got all this other stuff that comes in and can be quite intrusive. Can be quite intrusive on your day. Because I can't tell you how many times I've gotten frustrated trying to just live my normal day, and then here comes some major news that has really rocked our whole world. It's like, oh Lord, I just really wanted it to be a normal day today, right? But there's no normal days anymore. I don't think there ever really were normal days. There are always days that have something that comes up that make us go, wow. It's just how we handle these days, you guys. There's going to be life full of moments. I think as a kid, when you're younger, you don't see it. Our parents experienced it. They protected us. They protected us from these moments. But now we as adults are dealing with these moments. And what's kind of heartbreaking is our kids are not necessarily getting as much protection because they're exposed to it, because they're right in the middle of it. And so they are experiencing a lot of these changes along with us. Okay, so we all need moments where we just need to regroup. I call it reset, regroup, and so we all need those moments where we just have to get grounded and find our quiet place and our peaceful moments. You guys, I have learned, and I can't emphasize that enough, I just try not to get razzled and dazzled by the little stuff anymore. I just don't. I choose not to participate. I actually say that. I choose not to participate. And it's not coming from a place of arrogance or mean or anything. It's just me creating really healthy boundaries and understanding what I'm able to deal with and what I'm not able to deal with, and what's important in your life. When you get to a certain age, a certain time, you really do realize what's important and you focus on that. So, my family is extremely important to me, and I want to give them, a lot of that energy that I'm not about to waste on something else, and then realize a lot of things you cannot control. So what do? We just, we pray about it, we trust God about it, and we move on. We roll on. Okay? And so that's what we learn to do. It's what we learn to do. Trust God, pray for our community, pray for our leaders, pray, and believe God, for the things that we're praying about. So we can't just say the words out of our mouths but not believe it. I believe in putting every prayer that I release with a stamp of faith. Again, a stamp of approval is a stamp of faith. So when I release this word, I'm releasing it with a stamp of approval. Put my faith with it. Putting my faith with my words, okay? Lining it up with my words. That's it's like having, this is a really weird way to look at it, but this is how I look at it. It's our weapon, right? The word of the Lord is our weapon. So we pray in the word. We pray, using the word of the Lord. So if you think about it, if you have a gun, right? You have a gun, that's your weapon, right? You can have your bullets, but if you don't have a working gun, your bullet, it means nothing, So you need the power of that working of that weapon, right? It has to work. And that power for me is that faith that we have. And that's how we get our weapon to work. It's to stamp it with our faith. Okay? So I didn't get off of my topic a little bit, but let's continue. We're going to talk about soothing techniques as we come to a conclusion. Now, these techniques can be used to comfort yourselves in times of emotional distress. And I also suggest that you share with those around you who deals with these things, because maybe you can be a help to them as they deal with some type of emotional distress. These exercises can help promote good feelings that may help the negative feelings fade or seem less overwhelming. So the first thing you want to do is picture the voice or face of someone that you love. You feel upset, you're distressed, visualize someone positive in your life. Imagine their face or think of what their voice sounds like. For me, a lot of distressing moments, I used to think of, my children, specifically my daughter. She's the youngest. She's my only girl. and a lot of things that, was overwhelming or stressful. I think about her and the things she used to say to me, like when I first bought my house and I had two cars that I purchased myself. And she looked at me one day. She had to be maybe 9 or 10 or so, maybe younger, to be honest. And she said, I'm so proud of you. Look at you, Mom. You got your own house. You got, your own cars. She was proud. And that just played in my mind over and over again that I made my baby proud. So that's like a good soothing technique, to remind myself that I can handle this. I can do this. I have this little baby girl who is now a big girl, depending on me and looking up to me. And that means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. Another soothing technique will be practice of kindness. Repeat kind compassion phrases to yourself. You're having a rough time, but you'll make it through. I talk to you guys about this all the time. You're strong. You can move through this pain. You're trying hard. You're doing your best. Say this either out loud or in your head as many times as needed. It's like reaffirming. I'm sure you guys have heard the word affirmations, right? So this is like reaffirming to yourself. You're giving yourself positive words, and it's okay to encourage yourself. Even scripturally, the Bible tells us to encourage yourself in the Lord. Like encourage yourself, speak good of yourself, well things. We're not talking about arrogance or pride. We're talking about reaffirming, good things about yourself. You are handling this. You are good enough. You are, pretty. You are strong. You are, doing your best, and that's okay. This is great. This is, great what you're doing. So say this to yourself instead of saying, oh my God, here I am doing the same thing again. I can't believe I'm facing this again. Oh my God, I'm going through this again. I'll never make it out of this. If it's not one thing, it's another. And I can go on because you guys, how I feel about that redundant talk of doom and gloom. It drives me nuts, right? So instead of doing that to yourself, you're saying the total opposite. You're saying, yes, I can do this. Yes, I'm strong. Yes, I can make it. Yes, I can take it because if God put me here, He's equipped me to handle it. You guys know I can let that go on because I completely believe in that. And I feel that for you guys on today. Okay. Another thing is you can sit with your pet. If you have an animal, a pet, sit with them. In my house, you guys will not believe. I start off with one, and then I had got, two, which was fine for me. No more. Was surprised I even had the two, but I love them to death. And then last year, my husband brought home a rescue pet to my house. I was completely taken back from it, but yeah, 3 pets. So I can choose at any moment which one I want to cuddle with, love on, whatever, right? So, but get you a pet, get you some, some furry little animal, if you have one, and, concentrate on them, hold them, dogs. And I'm not a cat person, I'm allergic, but I have dogs, and my dogs are so intuitive. Dogs are intuitive. Dogs know, if you're having a bad day. They just do. I just don't know how, but they know if you're sick. Animals are just, they're God's creation for sure. They know when things are wrong. And so they, I've had my dogs look up at me, just lay on me, just want to be next to me, want to be right up under me, especially when I'm having a hard time. Just to be connected, have their body touch my body. And it's so comforting, it's so soothing. Visualize yourself in your favorite place. Think about it, whether it's at home with the loved one, and if just create a mental image, of that. It could be something small. You can have a favorite chair. I do. I do. I have a favorite chair. And when I have been extremely stressed away from home, the first thing I think about is when I get home, I'm going to relax in my favorite chair. It's a massage chair, you guys. It was a gift years ago, and I absolutely adore it. And so you can just think about that. When I get home, I could, get to my favorite chair. Plan an activity. Think about going out to dinner, take a walk on the beach, walk downtown. Think about visiting a museum. Just, make these kind of decisions. Touch something that's comforting. Blanket. I have favorite blankets. I have blankets. Put on your favorite T-shirt. Let your toes go through some soft carpet. Just touch something that is comforting for you. And list positive things. Write down or mentally list some very positive things that brings you joy. And then my fave, which is something that I do all the time, is listen to music. Music, they say, soothes the savage beast. I believe this wholeheartedly with my whole heart. I regularly play music in my house for every reason. Any reason I play music. Every activity, every event that we have in our house, there is music. When I'm cooking, music. When I'm cleaning, music. And when I need my meditation time, music. First thing I do is start off with my music. Music plays a huge part for me, in my life, and that soothes me a lot, okay? So whatever works for you, let it work. And when it comes to music, I love so many genres of music. But when I'm in my meditation time, I do my worship music. But when I am in a certain mood, and I need to be brought up and get grounded, right? I'm going to play music that I heard when I was younger, teenager, early 20s, and that triggers such good memories. That's why I love music. Music takes you right back to a place in your life. So I try to pick music in which, I was full of life, young, still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. First dating my husband, or, raising my first son, and in high school with my friends, just these great memories that comes with this music. And so that's why I pick, certain songs and certain genres and certain time frame of music. Okay. So these have been some techniques that you can use to help you get grounded. This article also says that you want to keep your eyes open, avoid closing your eyes, since it's often easier to remain connected to the present if you're looking at your current environment. Okay. Check in with yourself before and after a grounding exercise. Rate your distress as a number between 1 and 10 to see what works for you, which one is a better idea for you. Avoid assigning values. For example, if you're grounding yourself by describing your environment, concentrate on the basics of your surroundings rather than how you feel about them. So you want to get out your feelings. I did a whole thing about getting out your feelings, because they trick you. Feelings can trick you. Okay. Start early. Try doing, like I said, a grounding exercise when you first start to feel bad. Don't wait for distress to reach a level that's hard to handle. If the technique doesn't work at first, try to stick with it for a little bit before moving on to another. Practice. It can help to practice grounding even when you are not disassociating or experiencing distress. I can't emphasize that enough. If you get used to an exercise before you need to use it, it may take less effort when you want to use it to cope in the moment, and that's what we're doing. So I hope and pray to the Lord above that you guys have received something on today. It has been my honor and my pleasure, as always, to share tips and tools with you that I know will assist you in becoming a better you. Listen, new year, you guys. It's a new year. So, we are going to do it. We are going to do it. We are not going to put off anymore. We're not going to make any more excuses anymore. We are going to do what we need to do. So, I need you to make sure that you are focused this year, that you are, giving yourself a chance to accomplish your goals, give yourself a chance to accomplish, some of the things that you've had put in place forever. We're going to take care of those things this year. This is your year. No more procrastination, no more excuses. If I could have titled this "No More Excuses," I would have done that, but we will save that for another day. Let's not make any more excuses this year. Let's go ahead and begin to put into place the things that we've been trying to put in place forever. We talked about last year, before the end of the year, we had already discussed some plans that we were putting in place for this year, and we're going to execute those plans, and we're going to make sure we're fulfilling our purpose and completing our assignments. We're going to complete. And so that's our agenda for 2022, to complete assignments, to not leave things just out there hanging and unfinished. But we're going to complete our business and take care of the things that we need to take care of. Listen, God bless you guys. It's been my honor and my pleasure, as always, to share tips and tools with you that I know assist you in becoming a better you. You have been listening to Renew My Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Call. God bless, God bless, God bless. I love you guys. Please remember to follow me on all social media platforms. I am there. I'm waiting to hear from you. I'm waiting to connect with you. Please check out the website, www.michellecehall.com, and just keep listening out. We are going to have an outstanding year this year. I don't have a doubt in my mind. It's going to work out. It's going to come together. I love you, but remember, God loves you more. God bless you guys. Have an outstanding remainder of your day. God bless.